Marcy Kekhaute, an assistant professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, who had been teaching since 2018. She previously served at WB, National University of Juridical Sciences, and worked as a law officer at Allahabad Bank before entering academia. Notably, she is the first individual from Northeast India to secure a permanent teaching position at a major national law university. Her PhD is the first socio-legal study on the Vaipai tribe. Her research focuses on customary law, human rights, marginalized communities, healthcare access, and inclusivity. She actively mentors several student organizations and contributes to academic journals as an editorial board member, reviewer, and author. Her writings during the Manipur crisis were featured in leading newspapers. She remains engaged with educational initiatives in Lanka, working with various colleges and programs to promote legal awareness. Since 2019, she has served as convener of the Northeast Cell at the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, and is known for her inclusive and collaborative approach across diverse communities. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Marcy Kekhaute. Could be up to the topic left. Till big name but no name to AP topic din the president who it's you know to hin session pangaling iwa over to Dr. Halcom.
Second session chala pangaling ikluma resource person ding je heta to hin a problem panen gen taijin khove he ki sang zelin mo setna le ki sang zelin khonung le setna ba hung hin ti le ki hello e je ka chun je industry emerging trends hung te chule strategies to adapt to the changing job markets and changing work landscapes. Zete he gaining in to new resource person in Dr. KMRC Altain in he chun aman hungen sungin disrupt the hitinu again zozo le Q&A session umentin chun aman le ahun 30 minutes set sungin hingen beginning chile he.
Good afternoon. Sorry I couldn't come here on time. I was a little engaged at work. I would have loved to, have this session in our language, Vaipai. If I use it, you'll not be able to understand what I'm trying to communicate. So pardon me on that. So that is one skill I'm trying to work on, going back to the roots, because in today's time when the dynamics of our society is changing so fast, I think one very important realization that your generation, the Gen Z, how you like to call yourself, is to be able to trace your roots back. So when I was growing up, at least in law, there are not many of us. Now I see people are coming up, but it's been, I think, almost 15 years now that I'm in academics. And when I started out in law, now I realize, when we talk about adapting to the changing environment, one thing very important is also we need to understand that there are too many information. And when you talk about information, it's not just about your laptop or your palm top or your phone. The information can come to you through a relative, because our community is a small community. Word of mouth spreads very fast. And sometimes we have a tendency to give comments or advice which is unsolicited. So many people also would go up to my parents and say, things like that. And but my dad was very clear that he wants his daughter, me, to be in advocacy, because he wanted his daughters to be either in teaching or in a job where you don't have to undergo the red tapeism in India, because he was in services and he knew that it was very difficult, right? Having to apply a number of leaves even when you want to travel abroad or things like that. So that be as it may, and then I also realize when I look back now that many of the advice that will be given to you as you are navigating your way into your career paths may not always come from a good space. Sometimes the advice that are given is also to demotivate you, and this is human nature, and this is very universal. So the first thing that I would want to just put across the board is that you have to be able to decide for yourself what information works for you, what information is relevant, what information is irrelevant that you need to flush down the drain. All right. I think with that, since Thomas has asked me to stick strictly to 30 minutes, and we have a tendency to go on, so we will just start off with the slides. Now, what I have done is I've just identified few industry trends that are catching up with our times, and specifically with the Northeast region, because we are from the Northeast. I think, and there's always home calling. Now, when I've come to this stage, like I've never really grown up in Namka, I've never grown up, in all honesty. But now, I want to go back, because I feel, there's something that I need to give back. And when you go back, it's not just the weather, it's not just the people, but there's something so alluring about our hometowns, right? So I thought that it would be interesting if we just look into what the trends are emerging in the Northeast region, so that even if you come to Delhi, make yourself eligible for it, at least then, maybe you could place yourself somewhere, and then perhaps find a calling back home. Right, so we will start off with the first slide, and as you know that I'll be talking about the emerging industry trends and how we should adapt, or what we could do to adapt. Now, why is it so important to discuss on a topic, like emerging industry? Because whenever we talk about industry, at least from the legal point of view, industry is more of manufacturing or office, something that is to create, right? And it's heavy duty when we talk about in terms of law. But whenever you talk about industry, for instance, even education is an industry in itself. Self-care is an industry in itself. So why is it so important to discuss on a topic as titled as emerging industry trends? Is because we have to be able to cope up with the changes, because times are changing very fast. There was a time, if you had to, like when I was a student, if I wanted to go to the airport, I had to book the cab one evening before. The Kala Pila taxis, right? There was no AC, but now with the tip of your finger you can even book a cab. So it's changing. So how do you change? And you will see that a lot of our mothers or fathers, they'll always give the phone to you and say, Nambola, I'm outdated. We cannot afford to be outdated, because you are just, out, right? You haven't even begun to see what the world is. When you are a student and when you're working, they're poles apart. Delhi may not be the best place to work if you're not able to adapt to the changes, because this is the capital. And the changes are very rapid here as compared to any other place, right? We also have to understand that when these opportunities come up, like I think Dr. Juhi made it very easy for me when she says that, you have to be prepared. Because, when you fail, there is no excuse to failure. Even if you were falling ill, even if you could not make it to the exam center because your taxi got punctured, that is not a justification. But if you excel, everybody will come to congratulate you. So how do you capitalize on the new changing trends? So when you look at the emerging trends, we know that they are developing patterns and technologies. And I think in all of this, what is really important is the shifting consumer behavior, which is also affecting our economic and societal, lifestyles. Now, in today's time, when we talk about consumer behavior, I remember when I was in school, I never really got to choose what I would wear. It was always my mother making the choices for us. You get it? Because that's the way mothers have always been so caring. But today, if I have a child, will I be able to choose every garment that my child will want to wear? Because things are changing. I have an 8-year-old niece. Now she tells me, when I grow up, I want to wear oversized clothes. An 8-year-old is able to tell me that. When I was in class 10, I don't remember ever having made a choice and telling my mom, I don't want to eat this, I don't want to wear that. We always accepted what was given to us in our platter. So now when you talk about the changes in the industry, it is also giving us the option to choose, right? And it is also giving us what we want to go for and what we do not choose to be a part of, which is also affecting our economic and societal shifts. And why I say that is because, you go back home and you tell your parents, but this is what my friends are doing. Give me 500 rupees. Mere time, 500 rupees was a huge amount, right? till the time I was in my masters, even now sometimes my dad would ask me, how are you making your investments? This is not the way you should do. But should my child be 20-year-old, and if I'm still around, I don't think I'll be able to give direction to my child, because then I may be outdated then. Because of the demands, because of the pressure that we are growing up today, where we all want to be at the top of our game in terms of fashion, in terms of our exposure, in terms of the courses that we take, right? It is really changing our societal outlook. And most interestingly, as a person from law, I am compelled to say this, that there is much more awareness in terms of gender as well, gender equality. Many of us will today agree that women also should be given hereditary rights. Don't you think so? Why should women not be given when we are the ones taking care of our family? And at least in YP society, because I can say that to a married to a VT fellow. But nonetheless, the fact that I'm a YP doesn't diminish. Okay, I'm still very much a YP. Okay, like what I can say is that, I think girls are doing much better than men. AYP community, with due respect. If you look at in terms of our academic achievement, in terms of job, in terms of taking care of our parents also. So, we are also consumers in that sense. So when we talk about consumers, when we talk about industry, home is also an industry in itself, right? So the demands of our job, so the demands of our family, if you have an ailing family member, right? It's always the girls who are also willing to come to the metropolitan cities and take up a job. It's no more, girls' roles are no more confined to just serving tea. Our roles are expanding, which is why our understanding of industry and shifting behavior, consumer behavior is also changing, because at some point in the pyramid of consumption, we are also very much an important part of it, right? We can go to the next slide. Now, if you look at Viksit Bharat, if you look at different policies that the government comes up with, right, you will see that one of the most important focus in today's time is sustainability. We talk about Sustainable Development Goal 2030, right? So time will tell us how well we are doing there. But I believe, with my limited experience and my interactions that I've had with my students, because I teach in law faculty where students have to be a minimum of a BA degree to be able to come and pursue the course, because I teach in the 3-year law course, though we have a 5 years law now. So sometimes you have people who are very well learned, sometimes you have people who are fresh graduates, but overall the student profile is a graduate, right? So now what happens is, when we talk about sustainability, one thing that I've been able to gather over the years is that for anything to be sustainable, it needs to be suitable. If I have a PhD degree and if I'm made to teach class 10, I find it so difficult to teach class 10. I tried that because I was invited as a resource person in one of the schools in Lanka. I just didn't know how was I supposed to make it, relatable for them, right? So for them to be able to understand, what is important is that for that knowledge, for that idea that we want to drive through, for that to be sustainable, it has to be suitable, which means I also have to modulate my wavelength according to who the consumers are. And in terms of environment also, we're talking about sustainability, and I think Northeast region we are doing very well because we have a very good green cover, the evergreen forest that we have, right? When we talk about sustainability and green practices, also sustainability in terms of our culture, in terms of our traditions also, we have a very, very important role to play, because we in Delhi are not just an ambassador of the family you come from, you are also the ambassador of the tribe you belong to, of the region we belong to. So many times my identity at my workplace is, oh Mercy ma'am, she's from Northeast. And if somebody else knows me a little closer, they say she's from Manipur. And someone who knows me better, they'll say she's Khoti. They can't even say Khaude, they say Khoti. Alright? So that becomes your identity, right? Then we talk about digital transformation, which I think Juhu has already covered well, so I'll not dwell into that. And of course, the remote work and learn hybrid models. I think this is also something that has really worked for us, because now you can pursue your studies and you can also pursue your work from home. You can have your own pocket money. Currently, we are having a national mood where we have 16 teams come, which is why I'm a little mentally occupied there. Yesterday we had Justice Koteshwar Singh come for the inaugural, and you must be knowing that he's also from our home state. And one of the main challenges that everybody talks about in today's time is also regarding your online medium, right? You have Chat GPT, right? You have Perplexity, the AI. You know, it's AI ka zamana hai. Now, if you don't know how to use these apps also, you will be outdated. So what is so important is that use them to help you proceed, not to make it easy. You can't replace, like, you know, Dr. Juvi correctly pointed out, the aesthetics have to come from within you, because each of us will look at, two persons can look at the same thing but see it differently. But Chat GPT is not going to do that for you, because Chat GPT is ultimately a domain of information. On the basis of whatever information they get, you know, the persons who are behind the scene, they will just give you, okay, 90% says this is correct, so this is correct. But you may be amongst that 10% who says this is wrong, right? And that is the beauty of, you know, when you talk about doing research. Then we talk about health and wellness. I think this is something that is very common. You know, you go back home, you have 110 people selling you something or the other every day. Aloe vera is good, everybody will start eating aloe vera, right? Turmeric is good, everybody will start. I think you must have had this experience, no? Back home, the trend suddenly starts and everyone wants to become thin, you know, lose weight in 10 days, and somebody will endorse on your, you know, Instagram platform that, you know, this is very good. And then we start experimenting, right? So health and wellness is an industry that is really booming, and I think Lankale Kineimo, we have those, I think lemongrass, honey, and all these things are coming up, which is very good. And one thing that I also want to talk about, you know, when we talk of these key industry trends is, when I will be talking about it in the slides later on, our handloom. We have to be very careful, you know, that now when we see this, it may be just a piece of cloth for somebody, but for us, it has a sentiment attached to it because it represents us. Now, what is important is how do we preserve this? Because this is a world where things are, you know, traveling so fast. You have, was it Gucci that also came up with the Kolhapuri chappal? Was it? Gucci, Kolhapuri chappals, right? You know, for us it's like, oh, how can they do such a thing? But you look at the fashion industry, it's one of the biggest industries in the world. And what is important is how do you preserve? Because this is my identity. It is not just a piece of cloth. That's why, you know, when you have problems, when people burn down your shawls, it hurts you, right? So we will also talk about how do we preserve our identity, because this is a world where people also, it's so easy. Take a screenshot, you like the color, change the pattern, it becomes yours. So are we going to let people do that? That is also one thing we need to see, because as the society is changing, you know, for us legal people, it becomes a huge challenge, because we have to, law is all about balancing conflicting interests. Here somebody wants to be, you know, aesthetically sound, somebody wants to be creative. On one hand, there are people for whom this is not just a shawl but an identity. So how do we balance this conflicting interest? How do we share information? How do we, you know, come to a platform where it is just one person being able to manifest his, you know, sense of style. The other person, you are able to, you know, how do you preserve their traditions for them? So all of these are, you know, very, very conflicting interests, which law somewhere down the line, we do our research and we try to come up with suggestions where we can kind of maintain some amount of a balance. And then when we talk about, I think artificial intelligence have been talked about, food and beverage. I think in Delhi, if you go to Humayunpur or you come to Kishangarh area, it's flooded with northeast food joints. And you will never see them not doing well. They're doing well. Now, I have a lot of students, you know, coming from different parts, from UP, Bihar, Tamil Nadu. They come and say that, ma'am, we want to try the rice beer, we want to try pork, we want to try chicken, we want to try bamboo shoot. You know, it's a nice thing. That means we are able to bridge the gap. You know, there was a time, ek zamana tha where people would say, oh, these things, that things. People don't do that now. You know, that sensitivity and is also arising, which is why the awareness is also important. And how do we make people aware of our community is in your hands. It's not in the hands of how the other person perceives you. You always have the power to change it, right? Then I think tourism is one thing that's also very interesting. AI has already been touched about. Tourism. Now, you know, it has, it's very interesting. When I was in NUJS, which is the law school where we taught, where 5-year law colleges, students are being taught, they, you know, the students are quite clear. They come after class 12. They're very clear with what they want to do, because they are not first, many of us are first generation educated women and men. For them, they are the fourth, the third, the fifth generation, you know, so they're very clear. So what I used to do was, because they had very long holidays, summer, 45 days, And Calcutta with Puja holidays is pura 1 month. So I used to tell him when there was a direct flight to go to Shillong. In those days, my parents were in Shillong. I used to tell him, go to Cherrapunji, it's very nice. Go to Manipur, it's very nice. And the students would come back to me and say, ma'am, we went there. And they would go to such pockets of Meghalaya where even I had not gone, though I spent a relatively good number of years. So I hope that's making sense to you. And when we talk about tourism, I think if you go to Shillong, even if you go to Lanka, and even now the ideas of hotels are also coming up. When I was a kid and we would visit my grandparents, during the Christmas break, maybe once in 2 years, never, hotel means just chai wala hotel, no puri, Lanka puri and Simpi, Simpi. It was never about staying, it was never about lodging. But now you have the concept of lodging also, which means people are coming. Look at Mizoram right now. Because of the train, there is so much of influx of visitors, right? So every nook and corner you have a homestay, right? So I think tourism is one of the trends or one of the industry that is really catching up with all of us. And I'm sure all of you also love traveling. And you should also travel. I always took a solo trip. So all the trips I go abroad has all been solo trips. That is kind of, it opens up the world for you, right? Especially for the girls. Before you get married, I advise you to take at least one solo trip. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so let us look at what is brewing in Northeast India because we are there, and I think whatever we discuss have to have some kind of relevancy that may take us back home. Semiconductors and electronics manufacturing, if you are aware, is coming up a lot in Assam. Alright? Bioenergy and green technology, Sikkim has been declared as the first organic state in India. And of course, the Northeast region, we harp very strongly on organic farming, food processing, information technology and enabled services. Even in, I think in Manipur itself, now we do have training centers coming up, and even the exams are all conducted ICT, online. Then we have tourism and hospitality that we have already discussed, textile, handloom and handicrafts. You go, I don't know how many of you would go. I love hopping onto these kind of places whenever you have handloom melas or something, and I think in Delhi they have a number of it, right? So I keep going to these places. Whenever you talk about tribal arts and artifacts, Jharkhand is one state, MP is one state, and the rest is always Northeast. Whenever you talk about tribal areas, it's always mostly we talk about Northeast. But unfortunately, I think we all are a community who's very shy. So I want to encourage you all to ask for it. Unless you ask for it, you don't get it. Don't expect anyone to come and tell you, okay, you're from the Northeast, come, I'll give you funds, you can set up your stall for the Mela. Nobody does that. Right? So there are many thousands and thousands of schemes that are there. And the government is talking about Viksit Bharat, Sabke Saath, Sabke Vikas, right? So you keep checking on that and you will see even for young minds like you all, there are always opportunity to participate. That's how you broaden your horizon. We can go to the next please. Yeah, so we already talked about tourism. Adventure tourism, you must have heard, religious tourism as well. Wildlife, obviously, because we have really good national parks, right? In almost all the states in Northeast. Ecotourism, cave tourism, this is especially very famous in Meghalaya and in Tripura. Alright? Now, what are the skills that we require? So, if any of us want to get into tourism, these are some of the sectors of tourism that you can get into. Now, if you ask me, Mercy, where would you want to go into it? I would pick wildlife tourism and cultural tourism because I love jungle safaris. Been done a few. So cultural tourism is because that's how you teach people about yourself, about your culture, about the generations before you, right? So what are the skills that we require? Communication and awareness. Obviously, the sector where you want to get into, you have to be good. A lot of students come up and say, okay, we are in the first year, we are doing an internship, and I always tell them it's good if you can manage your time. But think about this. Many of you would be graduate in science. I was also a student of science at one point in my life, but theory is 70 marks and practical is 30 marks. It's never the other way around. Practical 70, theory 30, ये कभी नहीं होता है. Maybe it's 50-50 at the most, but theory is always more, marked more. Why? Because if you are sound in theory, you have a better chance to be sound in your practice as well. So theory, which also requires you to read, you have to emphasize on that. Alright? Then we talk about communication. Dr. Juhi also talked about the importance of communication, language skill, teamwork, leadership. I think, as people from Northeast, let me say that in particular, when it comes to teamwork and leadership, we are born leaders. You know why? Because the church also teaches us to stand up. The church also teaches us how to work collectively in a group. So that part, I think it's taken care of, and that's a strength we have, and that's a skill that we have, an inbuilt skill within us. So we don't really have to, dwell too deep into it. Problem solving, I think we all are good at it also. Most of us are good. Jiffy. Okay, Zeto, taken care of. And it does work. Because inherently, I think we are blessed with the genes to be able to come up with quick resolve. So supposing, if a button falls off, you may not know how to stitch, but at least you can do that. At least you can put back the button where it needs to be. And there, it's taken care of. So I think we are really good with teamwork, leadership, problem solving, and adaptability will be good if you are good with your communication skill. You're in Delhi. In Delhi, what is the language? Auto wala speak, it's Hindi. You try to talk in your language, no A by K power. You try to go and talk to them, it'll make no sense to them. There's a reel that I see on Instagram, someone is trying to talk Hindi. I don't know who this person is, I was sure. Right? It sounds funny. It's very sweet. Right? Because nowadays, if you're active, in all honesty, everything sells. If you're saleable, everything sells. Alright? But to put those clips, how many efforts he must have made. It's not easy to put yourself out there. Right? It's a digital world that we are living in. But you have to be careful. I want to put a word of caution here. Why? Because digital footprints are here forever. Alright, it's very nice when you Google your name and you see. Once I Googled myself and I saw that there are pictures which I don't know how it was there, maybe a resource person here and there. But in all honesty, I do wish to delete them. But there's a very strong debate that has been going on. Do I have the right to be forgotten? Have you ever thought of it? You want to be remembered. But do I have the right to be forgotten? And this was a case that came up in the US because there was a woman who was compelled to be a prostitute, and later on, she built up her life, and her daughter was studying. And one fine day, she woke up to the idea that what if my daughter sees me this way? So to protect her daughter, she wanted to delete all the clips of her, posing in a certain way which would have been objectionable for a child to watch when she was growing up. So this was a case, even the US court said there should be a way, you should be able to erase the digital footprints. And in India, we still don't have localization of data, which is also very, very risky. It's an age of tangible and intangible property that we are talking about. You put up a picture once, it just goes viral. Within seconds, it goes viral, right? So which is also a very scary thing. So we have to be very careful. So if you start let's say tourism industry, what I would suggest is your face do not need to be always there. Be careful. Because even if you want to delete, somebody may have, and you look at the population we have, it's more than 1.3 billion that you have. So even 1% of the population downloads your clip, it's running in terms of thousands and thousands of people. So that is a word of caution that I would want to put in when we talk about digital and technical safety. Right? It's okay, but be careful. Right? As a legal person, all I can tell you is that precaution is never in abundance. Precaution is always better than cure. Because the cure is very subjective. Right? Then we can go to the next slide. Major handicraft items in Northeast region, of course, when you talk about the Northeast, everybody thinks bamboo. Somebody told me, "Aap bamboo bhi khate ho, bamboo se saman bhi banate ho." I said, "Haan, ye chalta hai." So that's how it is, right? And now we have brass and bell metal and bamboo fiber, and all of this. Okay, so I don't think I need to go onto the left side of the screen much. Let's come to the skills that again required. Now, since we're talking about handicraft, obviously people are going to want to buy something that's a little peculiar. That is a little, traditional. That's a little aesthetic, right? So you have to have artistic and technical proficiency, your design and innovation. Because see, like I told you, we're living in times of Copyright Act, right? So if somebody comes up with a design, I can't just go and copy that and sell it off, right? So because that's a criminal offense. Okay, so when we talk about production and quality, I think one thing that a lot of people have told me over the years also is that Northeast का आप एक सामान खरीदो बहुत अच्छा लगता है. Quality, because we go for quality, and that is also why sometimes the pricing is also a little high. But anything that is good, anything that is sustainable, will thrive in the market. All right. And yeah, sustainability and material knowledge is important because it has to pass through a lot of quality check. So another thing, skill that is important is your soft skill, which again takes you back to the IT aspect, the information technology aspect, and business management. I think this is where we lack a bit. Business management. We start off. Now, if you go, but let's go back to our hometown. I love to talk about the hometown. Suddenly, I don't know why it clicks. Right? Somebody starts sugarcane juice. Have you seen? 5 steps, again another one. 5 steps, again another one. So one day I was walking, I remember this was in 2016, I was with my mom, you know. So we were walking and my mom was like, Chalo, let's have this. I said, okay, then we drank sugarcane. Then, you know, after 5 steps, it was someone in your hometown, everyone knows everyone, right? Something like that. Then, you know, this lady tells, okay, we took another one. Then again another step, somebody else, how many sugarcane juice can you drink at one go? Right? पूरा पेट ही भर के हम वही पीते जाएंगे. Alright, so what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to business management, somebody does it, we think it's successful, we'll also do because it's successful. It doesn't work that way. Business is not easy because you have to sustain it. It's not just about you make an investment of 10 lakhs today and you expect 20 lakhs in 1 year. It doesn't run like that. Talk to any businessman. It's years of, you know, hard work that goes in. And now that I've married into a prominent business family, if I may say so, I'm just beginning to understand the dynamics of business. And I tell my husband, if God blesses me with a daughter, I am going to make sure she doesn't marry a businessman. Oh my God, this is too much of a hard work. Thank God I just studied and I got into a, you know, more relaxed job. That's what I say, because how we look at business is, okay, free, you're the boss of your own self, no need to go and bow down in front of anyone. But it's difficult. You have to run the show. The moment you are not there, the chances of your business to collapse is very, very high. So when it comes to business management, and I don't think many of us are into BCom or MBAs, at least among the YP community more. It's not a very common course that we take up. But anyone wants to have, wants to develop, a business later on. I think commerce is very, very important. How you maintain your finances, how you work out your profit, sales, how do you up your production. That's very, very important. And I think if I may take this liberty, that's where we really need to work hard. And I will not go much into it because I have very limited knowledge. Maybe another 5 years I'll be able to be in a better position to come and share with you. Yeah, we can go on to the next. Handloom, as we said, now I think, the other day I was in one of the programs and there was this lady who wore a very nice Punching, but it was a very modified version. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Where did you get this? Then she said, oh, my husband was the SDO when he joined service in Churachandpur. And my son also was born and somebody gifted me. So it was a very peculiar, Punching. It was very peculiar. So handloom is something that's also coming back. Right? It's really coming back. At one point, we wanted to wear chiffon saris. We wanted to wear, variety of materials which are lighter. Because handloom is generally thick. It's generally heavy. But this is something that's coming back, and this is something that's really thriving. Now, if we look at the skill sets that we require, the 5 P's: product, price, place, people, promotion. Your product, if it has to thrive, it has to be outstanding. Because people are willing to pay for things that they know can be passed down as a heirloom, right? And when you talk about pricing, obviously if it's good, put a price tag. Everything comes with a price tag. Anything good comes with a price tag. Then we have about place. You also have to know the appropriate place. Ab aisa nahi ki suddenly you'll open a table and you'll start selling your products. You might just end up making a mess out of it. When the government is giving you the platforms to showcase your products, to showcase your handlooms, or to showcase your artifacts, let's seize those opportunities. We have to be more aware of it. So technology is not just about Instagram, not about Facebook, not just about this instant messaging. Use it wisely also to log into the government portals and to see what are the opportunities that are available. Alright? Then we have people. Like I said, we are ambassadors of the community we come from. The more friends you make, the more you communicate, the larger your circle is going to be. So if I want to start an industry, or let's say a business, it will be so much easier. Like Juhi madam here, she's an entrepreneur. You can ask her, whether you want or not. You have to be nice to people. You have to have a smiling face. because we have a small business. My husband had started a small business back home before our marriage. So sometimes when I'm back home, I just go and sit. And there are times I'm like, oh my God. But I can't do that. I can't be rude to the people who walk in my store because customer is the king. So irrespective of even their demand, sometimes, this happens, yeah, come on. Sometimes, you are putting a price tag and then they come and bargain you for 1/3 of the price. It's like, you just have to swallow your spit and say, it can't be that way, right? And if you see people here called Woka, they're so patient. They're so patient. Like, if I may just share an example with you, last week I was in INA and with a tailor, I usually go to him. One fellow had come to pick up a suit that he had given to the tailor for his daughter. The third time perhaps, and the suit was not ready. So the customer was so angry, started, becoming a little impolite verbally. What I saw in the tailor was, he said, "Arey saab, aap to अच्छे लोग हो, अगर आप नहीं समझोगे कौन समझेगा?" So the customer was like, "वापस दे दो, मैं कहीं से सिला के लाऊंगा." And there are multiple options, But I was very touched by that humility of the tailor who kept saying, "आप तो बहुत अच्छे हो." So you get what I'm trying to say? So whenever you talk about industry, we have to put our best side up. And then before our words, because law also, how do I say? The first person who raises hand is always at fault. It is not the person who provokes. I may be provoked, but if I'm going to use my hand and slap the other person, I think I'm always at fault. So that is one thing we need to do. We need to be calm. We need to be cool in the right sense of the term. Alright? Then promotion. Like I said, if you have friends, word of mouth is the fastest medium of information, even more than your Instagram. Right? So if anyone here, or if I am liked by the people sitting here, that means by evening, I think my fan club will be double of what you are here. Right? So it's very important whenever we talk about handloom, in particular the product, the price, the place, people and promotion. These are the skills that we require. We go to the next slide. I'm almost finishing. And now I think there's a search for local wine in the Northeast also. Have you heard of it? We have a couple of local wines, and some of these local wines are also traditional drink. Alright? So what are the skills that we have? Fruit handling and extraction. That means we also have to have preservation facilities, right? Fermentation technology, winery operation and lab analysis. This is where a bit of your knowledge of science and food processing will come in. There was a time when home science was very popular. It was very popular, especially amongst, my friends in college who were from the Marwari family, because they would be married off early, right after graduation. Right? And I had a very, very intelligent friend who wanted to be an IS officer, but she would say, Mercy, I will be married off the moment I'm in the, final year. Alright, so, so home science was something that was so, that used to sell like a hotcake, because it taught you recipes, it taught you basic skills, how to run your, home. Because running a home is in itself an industry, like I told you, right? Running our own family is also an industry in itself. So when we talk about, the local wines that are really emerging, the lab analysis, so, the opportunity to also get a job is through your home science, through the lab analysis skills that you may also acquire through formal education. Winery operations have come up, and there have also been some, I think 2-3 institutions have also come up in Assam where you can also get a training in winery. So this is one aspect that we can see, because I think till now in Manipur, we still don't have a wine. So alcohol is different from wine, right? I hope you know that difference. There's Suknu, no? Suknu, no, not Suknu. There's a place where they have this alcohol. Sekmai, sorry. Yes. So that is not what is in reference. Suknu is amla, right? But that is a juice that is not made into a wine as it. Arunachal is doing it, Nagaland is doing it, Assam is also doing it. Right, in these things. So that is one thing that you could look and see that in Lanka or in Kampupi area, what is it that we could use, alright, and convert it into some kind of an edible drink, non-alcoholic perhaps, which could also be an ambassador for the kind of food that we eat, for the kind of drinks that we drink, right? Yeah, then maybe the next is last. Oh. Okay, so since I'm in law, I'm very, I'm tempted to talk about the legal industry, because This is really booming. And I also see that the enrollment of students in law is also raising a lot. Like I said, this is because of an awareness that is growing. Unfortunately in today's time, or fortunately, let me put it this way, there are three things that is really, looked upon as barriers, or rather as forces that are breaking down barrier. One is education. Many of us may still be first generation educated women. Thankfully, my mother's family have been more, the girls have been more educated than the boys from my maternal side, right? So, now we're looking at, and we look at Christianity as a religion. It is also one of the factor that is making people realize that there is something called equality, because our religion don't discriminate. Though a lot of people try to interpret religion saying that, man is the head of the family. But if in law what we teach students is, don't just pick up a passage of your own choice and try to make it the gospel truth. Read the entire verse. That's why in the Bible you have the chapter and you have the verses, right? So even if the Bible says that man is the head of the family, it says who is the head of the man? It's Christ. So nowhere does the Bible says that women are supposed to be treated in a certain way, in a derogatory manner, right? So Christianity is also helping to break down the barriers of inequality. And when we talk about the customary laws, now girls are also waking up. A lot of girls will be studying political science, or even if not, you still talk about the Constitution of India that talks about equality. So now we are also able to, question our, raise questions in the family. Then why is it that I'm treated differently? My father, I think he's a feminist. He may not want to accept, but he always said there is no difference between my daughters and my son. In fact, he would make us take a flight ticket and he would ensure that, okay, he's the only son, let him come by train. So that was his way of, perhaps training up his only son that he has, right? So, and migration. Many of us, our girls are also today marrying into communities, not necessarily vibing. And it's not a sin, it's okay. If they're happy, so be it. Right? So these three factors are really making us realize that maybe the way our customary laws are operating, if they have to be kept alive for the next 50 years, next 100 years, it has to also live up to the changing times. No? It cannot, something that is stagnant is never healthy. That's why even in summers you say, cooler saaf karo, because stagnant pani hoga to malaria hoga. So in that same way, if that is how we look at something that is stagnant, what about our laws? And a lot of us would also not take up law because we thought it was a very masculine subject. It is not. I'm a woman and I'm in law, and I think I'm doing pretty well for myself, right? So when we talk about the legal industry, it is one industry that's really booming. If you take account of who are the richest people in India, apart from politicians, let's keep them aside. Professionally speaking, there are two professions where they are really rich: doctors and lawyers. And more than doctors, lawyers are superseding them, because there are some senior advocates who take one standing, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. They take about 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, one standing. Not for a case, just one appearance. You can't go and question them. It's a price tag that they have. Paisa hai, pay up, I'll pay up for you. You don't have. Go to someone you can afford. But if you look at the doctor, now for a heart surgery, the doctor obviously will not come and charge you 40 lakhs when another hospital is charging 30 lakhs. Right? So there's a certain standard that they need to maintain in terms of pricing their skills. But when it comes to lawyers, nobody can put a price tag other than you of your skills. Right? So that is also one thing that is also one thing that is really making very intelligent students these days take up, apart from the IITs and the IIMs and the medicine law, the medicine field. Now we have a number of students signing up for the law courses. Now, see, if you look at all the skills that we are talking about, Dr. Juhu's presentation was lovely, wonderful, very clear. If you see all the slides that I've been going through, also you will see the first thing that is important is your communication, effective communication. It's not just about talking. And Dr. Juhu also talked about listening. In law, we call it the right to hearing. When you hear someone, it is different from you just speaking. We talk about natural justice, right? So sometimes your generation, you're always so fast. You want everything at the tip of your finger, right? Domino's khana hai abhi, aana hai abhi. Wahan jana hai, aa jao. So that patience have been, out of the window, right? But when we talk about effective communication, it is not just about you talking. It is also about you hearing what the other person has to say. All right? So that's very, very important. requirement in detail. You have to go in for the details. Don't just read a book. Try to understand what the book is talking about. And you know, what makes toppers different is they go in for the details. And it is that detail in that answer script that makes it a little distinct from the rest of the crowd. Alright? Teamwork is important, empathy obviously, and you have to be technologically fit because today everything is on the system. Alright, so I think that is something that's been taken care of. There are different branches of law, corporate, intellectual property, cyber and constitutional law. For us, constitutional law is important because if I ask you, how many of you know about the 5th and the 6th schedule? 5th, 6th schedule, have you heard of it? Indian Constitution? 5th and 6th schedule? No, just one person. It's high time you need to know that because 5th schedule is what governs us. It is because of 5th schedule that today, have you heard of ADC? Autonomous District Councils. That is the lowest level of governance for us because we don't have panchayati system. Right? So that is why I'm telling you that even when you read, you have to go for the details. Right? And somehow, every subject teaches you to go in for the details. Alright? Then I think the last slide perhaps. Okay, this is just a focus areas for career paths because I think since this was a seminar which was going to help you to decide on your career paths, I think what is really important is that you need to understand that when you talk about your, when you're job focused, you're just ticking off. Okay, I required this degree to get a job in this, fine, tick. But when you are career focused, it makes a difference. If I may share my experience, like when I was introduced, it was mentioned that I was a law officer at one point in time. Trust me, I hats off to people who are in banking jobs. I couldn't take it. I was there for 3 months, paid my penalty, and I told my dad, listen, I'm going. I can't sit in this place. So in terms of job, I had a job. It was an officer's job. It was quite okay. I was in the zonal office. I was posted in Guwahati. But was I career oriented? The answer is no, because I did not get the satisfaction. Every day going to job, I would frown. So I would tell my dad, you are sitting in London and you're telling me to go and take up with the job. Why is it? He said, no, just take it. So unka hai, mom and dad generation, they have their own set of thinking, right? So I took that job, but it was not a career that was meant for me because I never had that kind of satisfaction. Then, when you are talking about when you are career focused, you also value your time. For me, like I said, when I would go in the morning 9:30, I was waiting, looking at my wristwatch. When will it be 5 o'clock? When will I go back? But now my job, I'm like, okay, ye bhi kar lete, So, you end up investing your time in a more productive manner. And then when you are talking about your daily task, again, daily task also doesn't seem to feel heavy because you know that you're putting in every effort for the larger picture, right? And then the last bit that talks about career development part, when you are career oriented, you look at future goals, all right? But when you are just working because they're paying you, you're stagnant. You're not growing. You're not sustaining yourself. Perhaps because the job is not suitable for you, all right? Then I think the last slide we have is how do we develop these skill sets and how do you choose? The first is you need to identify skill gaps. What is your weakness? Rather than knowing what is my strength, I always want to know what is my weakness. Because once you identify your strength or weakness, automatically your strength will come to the surface. Alright? Then we have, then you need to create a learning plan. You need to leverage online resources, like I said, because there are too many online resources. ChatGPT has been also questioned a lot. Just yesterday we were discussing about that. Some person in the USA court, came up with some good decision saying that this is the decision of the Supreme Court in India. But when they checked with the Supreme Court in India, there was nothing as such which was found. So when you talk about online resources, be very, very careful. Always cross-verify. Alright? Then we do learning by doing. You can't be sitting in one place and saying, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this. Work. Alright? You can't be sitting in one place and getting it done. You have to develop soft skills, hearing people out, find mentors and network. I think today's time, especially now that you're in Delhi, no? Have you heard of this? Tumhe nahi pata mera baap kaun hai? What is that meaning? It is talking about network. Mera chacha wo hai, mera mama ye hai. Especially when the traffic wallas, are trying to give you challan. Aap mujhe challan doge, aapko nahi pata mera papa kaun hai? Why do we say that? We are trying to emphasize on the network that we have. Maybe in terms of family, maybe in terms of friends. But if you are here in the city to hone your skills, you need to have network, right? Apna level mein sabka ek network hota hai. Then we also have to find mentors. Identify who are the people who you would want to choose a path with. You want to come in law, for example, right? You can always come to me. I may be able to give you more ideas about how to get into the legal profession rather than going to somebody who's not in the profession. So it's also important that you identify mentors, right? You want to go for theology. That's wonderful, lovely. Identify which pastor you would want to acquaint yourself, because all of us have biasness. All of us have likeness. So if you're biased, or if your bias is positive towards the other person, find a mentor. That's absolutely okay, but it's important because your mentor is going to help you weed out the voices that comes to you. Like I told you, every advice may not come from a good space. Alright? But your mentor definitely is going to help you weed out those voices and perhaps help you a better career plan. Technical skills, I think we have discussed enough. For me, the most important skill that I chose to develop is a positive self-activity. For us, hobby, it's not common. We don't give it much importance, right? It has never been given, we don't want to spend money to develop a music skill at one point in time. We looked upon it as an expensive thing. But I think hobbies are very important. It's something that makes you happy. For me, it's very simple. I love to go for long walks. It just makes me happy. So for you, and I love to watch the clouds. So for you, it's also important, find something that makes you happy. It doesn't have to be expensive. After a day's work, sometimes when you feel you're not able to concentrate on your studies, switch on to your positive activity. That will definitely help you. And when you indulge in positive self-activity, trust me, the inner voice, the inner self always has a solution to all the problems. And that you will be able to hear. And that will never lead you wrong. Alright? Then the last, I think, I didn't know I had that many slides. Yeah, so 8 ways how we improve adaptability, because we are not in our hometown, we're away from family. One is you need to accept the uncertainty of the future. Change is the only constant in life. So how do you move up with this change? Kadam pe kadam aap kaise chaloge? That is going to depend on how well prepared you are. To encourage others to be open-minded. These others could also be your parents. Encourage them also to be open-minded. We're talking about a world where, even people from the third gender are asking for their rights. It's not just about you and I anymore, it's about them also. There are so many, now when I was in Calcutta Law University, I started the animal cell. Can you believe it? Now even in DU I was teaching a paper on animal law. I even organized a national seminar where Menka Gandhi had come. Even in DU we have it right now. Right? Now when they tell me to be a part of it, now I said, every weekend kaneki. Something we say like that. No? So we are living in a world where we talk about inclusivity. Alright? Then force yourself to take risk. And why do we want government jobs? Because we feel that it's a soft cushion. And COVID kind of proved that for us. The people who were in a government job, anyways, we were getting our salaries. Right? But I think your generation, you have the option. You have the family support also. You have to take risks because times are changing. You are in that age where you can experiment. At this age, I obviously can't experiment, but I'm still open to the idea of challenges. I am still trying to embark. Maybe I'll just take a professional switch. I'm still open to that idea. So you have to be open to the idea of risk. It's okay if you fail. It's fine. Own it up. But at least you tried. And some lesson will definitely come to you. All right? Variety to your to your routine. Like I said, maybe a new diet you try, a positive self-activity. What is your hobby? Sometimes you may be very good at debating. You may be very good at extempore speech. From childhood, I was always a debater and an extempore speaker. I always enjoyed that. So maybe perhaps my dad says that he identified that skill in me, which is why he wanted me to be in advocacy. And I think, when you are able to find your skills, which is an inherent quality in you, I think it makes the job a lot easier, right? Then you can change your thought process, stop blaming yourself for anything that goes wrong. It's okay. We all make mistakes, right? But always remember you're the most important person in this universe to yourself. If you don't love yourself, nobody's going to love you. If you don't make the mistakes, nobody's going to give you that chance. Give yourself the chance to grow up, right? And then you have to be flexible. It's okay. Sometimes idhar udhar hona theek hai, but just come back, just bounce back, no matter where you are. And the last is embrace learning. You have to keep learning, especially for us who are in academics. You know, every day there was a time, I think even Thomas Saw would be knowing this. When I got into this profession, there was a time, there were days I would read 11 to 12 hours in a day. So when your toppers and all say, you know, that they study 14, 15 hours, it's very much possible. When you enjoy it, you have 24 hours, right? Out of 24 hours, if you cut out 12 hours for your sleeping, for all your domestic chores and all, you are still left with a good 10 hours. So how you utilize that? And when you talk about learning, interaction is very important. Read books out, you know, which may not be related to your academics. Read good authors. Somewhere they will add to your knowledge, to your understanding. It will always come in handy. It is always going to come in handy. Alright? I think with that, I've crossed my time. Sorry. Thank you very much. And the next time, if at all I come here, I'll try to speak in Piping.
Thank you, Dr. Marcy, for your insightful presentation. You give us a lot of spaces to think about our career path in diverse ways. To hin Q&A session samtak umintin mo. This is also like in concluding remarks on Pinkerton Apaniwa. This is also like host and unkilakit. To hin audience apat dot no umte dot hazel ni ka. Ado umte introduce ke bola sampan. Lolam lunglut na iten na batay.
This is where you start. Your soft skills and
Haile.
Maybe you can take this up later on. You can pick the replacement outside. So far, no questions.
Process na refreshment nek tak lewa. Ya holim kiser inten. Ken Dr. Marcy again na kalak bauthi or somsam again kitin. Dr. Marcy has shown us that the emerging trends are not just in distant locations. They are present in our homes, our handicrafts, and also food processing, etc. And today, the world is moving towards AI and also green technology, hybrid work, and also customization. Likewise, the Northeast India is also moving towards, like she said, bamboo fiber, and also handloom, tourism, and semiconductors, etc. So what is critical here is, and required here is the skill set. So I think we must take a commitment today to work on or to acquire that skills with these various diverse prospects that we have. Also, my key takeaway from her presentation is that the work landscape will keep changing, but our ability to grow with it will be our strength. So I wish everyone to work on that. And today, from Dr. Zuhi's presentation and Dr. Marcy's presentation, it reminds me of what Noah Yuval Harari statement about in 21st century and also in the fourth industrial revolution. What is important is not illiteracy. Illiteracy is not a problem anymore today. But what is important is becoming irrelevant. You may be highly educated, you may have the best degrees from IITs, from universities, but you can be useless. You can be irrelevant. So I think we must, as Zillai, I think it's time to reimagine and rethink about our skills required for our 21st century. And also, that's why I think I challenge and also I urge everyone to take the commitment to keep learning, keep adapting, and also keep building. And thank you all for your presence. I wish we will take away lots so that we can implement in our future ahead. Thank you so much.
Pakuma my tell tam taloma sending my tom cha ki da na khan as Zillai one you to ki gets oh sika oh so eye opener go la mo nong tim oh ze khale zi ka bo lo la tam pi gen la kha ze kha ka interest ti khal om khame the mo ke ya ding le e ki shen kha go len nga ya bange ka hi na ta ka chun ke le MBA ka la cha finance sa hi le the way I got into kasim zonunga, I wish if I had done this. The job I landed is not very satisfactory. I'm still thinking how to improve. At least I can guide you how to be not me. I'm very happy where they've ended. As if sorry, new cut time lang katin. A2 government job devel hoka alki focus in mo in bule pato allowed hello because Dr. Marcin Legenta is situation no dung zuya hi hello anghe permanent job security khaki doi mo lezi khel kha e uta hum te hi iwa etoile e pate han job hoi ta permanent security tampi mu mo zi khel kha ken zi khel khan bang ka bot hi dim ka lung lu tak kha khot ka ti kha lung thi mi nei thene di nei thene ka mu chi thak hi thella so Tuni ka book joy hin le kizi ka the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine mo tuni ingai to kha o ka bolu thi tilowin we have to start it because the best way to predict the future is to create it and how do we create it today kha oh lakhwaya zing le heroin we should stop waiting for the perfect time because starting is what makes the conditions perfect and we have to start mo we have to ekha hiena from a year from now, you may wish you had started today. We're just wishing like it's ID and we'll end up nowhere. Kipakuma tuni teng wak tak thu de ho ingai thaw tu hin ilaka umlo Dr. Father Vincent Ekahi tilneo cha pikut token of appreciation I would request ma'am and Dr. Joey to accept on behalf of Father Vincent. We want to present him a small token of appreciation. So Asha take a lang pigula. Apelog din yun i-president po may baksihin. Hin atop tak na din word of thanks Vice President Patinilongay. Thank you.
Hello. Top na din ata. 30 minutes or chung yes ang then word of thanks. Igim dong tawel eh. How was it? Okay. So very fruitful day, personally. So first of all, I would like to thank God for giving us this space, this day, and we are at the end of our program. So first, we are very grateful to God, and second of all, I would like to, on behalf of the Zillai, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our resource person, Dr. Zui and Dr. Marcy, for giving us your time and energy and also sharing us your experiences, your knowledge. They were insightful, and for me personally, I got fresh perspectives on what I can achieve in the future. So, and I believe it was the same for everyone. Abanle, I would like to extend my respect and gratitude to Dr. Hokam for your time and energy here, and for the willingness to be the moderator of today's seminar. As well, tuni Pastor Obi umlaulale macam ilagi paktu kabageno ma un patna pausa manu nei pega chule and our advisors Pu Jameson he aban le Pu lalgoi le he ma chu tu yum tapo naun le OPZ kun seminar le meeting so ma chung cherun ki paktu kamgen he and then I would like to extend my our heartfelt gratitude to the ISI. So thank you for allowing us, allowing to collaborate with us, and also providing the space for free. So we are very thankful, and we look forward in the future, and we will see what we can work on together, and we will explore any opportunities that we get. So we have high hope on that, and please give our regards to Father Vincent as well. As well, lastly, you know, Snoop Dogg and award a lot again. For last but not the least, I want to thank me, depend. So this is not me. But you should thank yourself for showing up today. You should thank yourself for giving the time and energy. And it was not a waste. No. So let's give a big hand to ourselves and to Wayne and just refreshment in Chunglamani kinenten mo. So I give the mic to the host.
Thank you. Tuwi na to na ihunte o patin ko konsak na ini bini closing prayer. Upa advisor le yo upa Jameson lo ko hike. Ibon ng ding seat leute. I request all to stand.
Paul Tsangitiyo. Kukipakoi lalpa ngin tunihun hoy takmay longpi lalpa Zillai Executive Committee in Punso pi program alagunggal Zillai seminar lalpa nangin ahun takin long mat saka kakamat sumule bang matsoboy nam lawin lalpa speaker te patin tuhoy tam pi lungai thak saka Zillai tunihong khom tu tiani nga phatsum thethil tam pi amau patngai thak thi zigun laking ki pat thu kongge ti hi dunia ka thungai thak teo lalpa apon mai hilowa lalpa tunihong khom tu te zo sin kamasangu career ro phatsum na tam pi etun tu hi thena dingin hungmal zong in la lalpa phatsum na kaponu chungin nangin hungtun sak ngei le chuntiin nang makingin kongdon kit hi kahun teo le zo pitak zik laking pa tu kongen o zelo chun tuin refreshment kong le ging teo yen la ka ki khen za pha le in lam ka zot na ding chi to le nang man ta thakau thing thuin ni e po pia pui hui kita ka in lum teo chi pui tung kit ngin ta khu tha tin kong ko sa son mo hi kahun teo le zo pitak zik pa tu genin ka program sumunang ma to lo lam ka bol kha ko ka gen kha ko o mai chun nang ni ngai dam zo tingin zo se chu atisan man tam ta gai tan kalal pa toi tak je su minin kongton so hi
group photo group photo photo bang ti bol de mai kachu come mai kachu announce thing
ये group photo leading you are look sit again station in
Em học gì rồi?
Nè nang ucheng si hung ting ulle.
resource person there to itu dia kan masih baik kilam sana.
Executive.
Florence lah. Florence. Everyone now.
Buka, that's it.
Tung ki eng de ta le. Tung thei ta lo ai chi.
Open. Ikut Pak Lemo.
Nang long pang ta. Now, kichu yang now ucheng khala kili thi mu kichu le tham pu nang le na pani u na kili gam ta chi le coi như là ready 1 2 3 chia rồi edit delete ta
Cái liền. Video thì cái end đi tạm bằng hẻm. Anh nếu mà video nó là cái gì mà
hả bowling te
đang ball tệ.
bằng cái độ đi là
Itu lah dot dia itulah.
bằng cái độ đi là
Tu ni program like
why Kangku bằng một coi số nào lên độ đi một chục bằng một
Aha.
hả
Đợt thế chứ. Phải không?
Florence, ni panibatu mana tu sesama. Tanya game apa?
ala cita lang ala mi ala range le chi question le nang la bol de chi questioning le al chi to num te alle le chip to ka ele ala ala tel dile ko ti refreshment ni dinga chi ke kam question mi pathum wel di he mo refreshment Beckham ang level thầy lâu ấy không có đinh thầy lâu ấy bằng tiền số xí về đinh thầy mong mong tàu đi hay là ken đinh vì tao đi con lại chân sang gen là rồi power đi oh ấy cho tộp lắm mà cái này đi không Abui tayo lang. Opo. Saan ni nakasubo? Yeah.
Feedback lazing tele
Bang?
Feedback lazing tele.
I'm sorry. Kay na hello ni. Ken join ka din mo nang ala ki hopi le sun.
Mai po.
Labiyag lang kupik nang ka.
Mai po. Ang refreshment lang.
Oo na nang ka.
Just normal.
Nanay lo.
Seminar feedback. Ngaya. Cái
Video mo gì à chúng ta cũng gì chú.
cá hồi bồi cái ăn cần cần là bị bồi đấy.
Cái mặt chú ha chú về cái lá của nó thật chơi lại cho cái linh cái là cao đi cái xịn này.
Nang phone pite ka be nang ato na.
Đây là mặt cái cái phone này po là sa kỳ về là không biết được
Sa boy. Ang kabo ka.
Cái bằng đi là.
Tagi ka pite.
Ken chú ka pu pui. Yi nong kap ta di ko.
Mo si.
Yi lam ko kap tong lom mai. Kanta.
Song này.
Ai nieng.
Cái kami cái kami này về seminar Hong Kong
Today's seminar mo. What do you think about today's seminar? It trains how you view your career.
it just changed a lot. Before coming to the seminar, I thought the seminar would be just simply there will be a presentation and there will be a presenter from the resource person. But when I sit in the chair and attended all of the sessions, I've come to the conclusion that if we have to go to academician, we have to really give it a time. It's not something you can achieve overnight. And that's it. That's all.
The struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Keep up. Oh, okay.
Anh đang cười.
Yes, I could type it.
Doi dong oh.
Kilala.
Gil tae kay le. Aji ka choi di chule.
Itu nak dikulai tangan.
Ayan tero si pendikay tawa. President elect Neta. Phone ni pa president pa le he vice president he secretary nui hung lo. Ma he ke lao de ta na.
Đại tình mất.
Nè chị, cái con tay.
Vai giờ phu.
Là mi hồng thôi.
Ye ka seminar. Kami seminar. Now, chung lam hi. Ita ku kêu in hi.
Canal đầu tiên mà.
Ita ku ka in lu yu ka hi. Ita ka in song Nehru Stadium pa ma ku ma. Camera kha hoi lo ti tiu kha. A camera ai pu network le pu light hi. Semua kha light hoi lo je ka.
Tu itu loh, Zillai.
Tu ni ama role kha bangta kha
Moderator.
moderator pa hin bangai danan ne yam tu ni seminar he game ke le pa ne.
Tuni Zillai Delhi and NCR seminar organized pen him. Poi mo khop maya. Sule Delhi Zillai Delhi history ade mitam pen na le hitan tin. Resource persons tele team khop mayo. Sun tu lai setna khang ki sang zel dung zu ya setna thak te he. Tuni in resource person ten kitchen takin again pe ko mo. Je YouTube apat hin le len chetun lang du len family YouTube channel apa alen cik lewat cun. Ipat sompi nge dia kita mau me.
Zillai Delhi channel la ka upload.
Zillai Delhi NNCR lagu pate. Abon pe.
Subscriber ke nai lah.
Subscriber le pu technical issue ne khat au ma.
Hai ko lang.
Technical issue ne khat au ma. ये कई ले डाल के आए का बॉलिंग होता है ये इन बिल्डिंग सांग ही एनआईए इन लमते नी लाव मामा ये मुखा ये एनआईए बिल्डिंग है बान खु नेहरू स्टेडियम है ये बान खु सीजीओ कॉम्प्लेक्स किती का है ये नो या ही साई बाबा मंदिर खु ये पे को अजोले खलम ही हैबिटेट सेंटर ले उंगाल है in India get le Rashtrapati Bhavan le amu kimu ye building san king ye amu chu kimu he Rashtrapati Bhavan ye building sang ho ko Connaught Place ye le chantu sa itinu ki mars kit ding hi bonon Lebo nun. Kalau dam citun lang, kita lihat lah, kita.
Dia semua